this webinar off. Good afternoon and good morning to everybody that's joined us today. I'm joined with Jeff, and my name is Kara, and we're from ASAR America, and we're here to talk to you about SAP Commissions and how you can automate your incentive compensation process. So we'll go ahead and get into our agenda for the day. So we're going to start off with some introductions from Jeff and myself. We're also going to go ahead and go into a little bit background about ASAR America and what we are poised to do with SAP customers. We're going to go over some challenges that we've seen some companies facing with their commission structures currently. We're going to outline some benefits of actually upgrading to the SAP Commissions platform. And then we're actually going to pass it off to Jeff afterwards to go over an overview and a quick demo, actually get into the system and take a look at what it looks like. And then we'll actually open the Q&A towards the end of the call. So if there are any questions, you'll see that there is a Q&A section on the Zoom meeting. Go ahead and type your question in and we'll go over those towards the end of the call. If we don't get to every question, we can go ahead and take it offline and schedule a follow-up call, or you can send any emailed questions to us and we'll give you that email towards the end of the meeting as well. So first, we'll do some personal introductions. My name is Kara Eisnogel, and I'm a partner here with ASAR America. I'm based out of the Phoenix, Arizona area. I'm actually a local and native here, born and raised. So I've been in the area, know it pretty well. I started with ASAR earlier in the year. Before that, I've worked in a couple of other local tech companies. I started off doing channel sales for hardware, software, and services with a local VAR here. I've also worked with some smaller companies that offered their own CRM solutions as well as SaaS services. So I've been in the SaaS area for quite some time and really found a passion in bettering businesses and bringing those solutions that are going to help push companies forward, make more revenue, and all around build their brand better. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Jeff for an introduction as well.
Hello, my name is Jeff Ryan. I'm a CX architect here for ASAR America. I've been the lead architect on numerous installations of SAP CX products for clients such as General Data Tech, Rising SAP Consulting, Nedic Automation, and as well as Fast Rate International. Before my time at ASAR, I served in the United States Army for 8 years. Got the leadership and qualities of driven to hit deadlines from there. And ever since then, we've been delivering quality products to our customers and continued support. Clara, good one.
Awesome. All right. So now we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about ASAR, the company that both of us work for. So ASAR got its start in 2010 as a CX Gold partner for SAP. And just to mention, I do have an SAP background, as do many of us that work at ASAR. So we know SAP software, we know exactly how to implement that and exactly how it's going to benefit businesses. It was started by Sanjeev Singh. He's our managing partner and also the author of SAP Press Books surrounding the C4HANA suite. C4HANA is going to be the customer experience suite. So anything that your customers touch, anything customer data, customer experience, commerce, solutions like that. Our solution focuses below are those CX solutions, the commerce, sales and service cloud, which is going to be a CRM, field service management, so scheduling services, CPQ. We did a webinar a couple weeks back for configure price quote, and then SAP Commissions today. So our industry experience actually is across the board. So you'll see anywhere from manufacturing to professional services, life sciences, wholesale distribution. We really don't focus on just one industry. We think that all industries can really be better off if they have a good customer experience, happy customers or returning customers. And we believe in creating a customer success story for all the customers that we work with. We don't want to just get a thumbs up from our implementations. We really want to get that story back from the customer of how we've bettered their business, how we've brought them more revenue, how we've propelled them into the future, and have them tell the story for us of how good of a job we've done and how much SAP software has helped them in their business. So now we're going to get into what we see in the industry today. So an interesting stat that we've seen is that the average enterprise company actually spends 10% of its revenue on incentive sales compensation for their sales folks. So if you're thinking 10%, that's quite a bit of money that you're putting back into your salespeople. You want to make sure that that 10% is going to the right salespeople and it's getting paid out on time and properly. What the data is actually suggesting is that between 47 and 70% of those organizations are using spreadsheet for their compensation management. And what we've seen in the industries is that 88% of those commissions spreadsheets actually contain errors. So when you're thinking about that 10% revenue that you're putting back in your company, 88% of that 10% can actually be paid out incorrectly. That's a huge margin of error. So then we move into looking at different company sizes, small size companies, mid-market companies, enterprise companies. Most of them are using 2 or more platforms to track their commissions management. So with those multiple platforms, they're causing a poor user experience for their sales executives. All the way down from the salesperson themselves to the top to the CFO, jumping back and forth between those multiple systems. They're not able to see their quota attainment. They're not able to get that transparency of what I'm making this month, what I'm making this quarter. And that's something that we've seen that sales individuals love to see, and so do the executives. They want to see exactly where their money's going, how much money they're paying out to their people, and really how much is being sold as well. So those challenges are outlined here with the manual processes, going back to those Excel sheets, those multiple platforms. You're using time and labor hours, and you're really not able to get that data accuracy with those spreadsheets and those multiple platforms if they don't communicate very well with each other. And then running multiple platforms, you run into the problem of the expensive, ineffective, and poor user experience that we outlined before, and ultimately that lack of transparency. Like I said, salespeople, they want to sell, they want to see exactly how much money they're making, how much more they have to sell to get that extra multiplier. I know some of us have been there, so the transparency really needs to be there, and the payout tracking as well. We don't want to know just how much money we're making. We want to know exactly when we're going to get that check. So some of the benefits that we've seen directly from implementing SAP commissions with certain customers is automation, accuracy, and then getting that transparency back to your people. So we're reducing the amount of manual labor hours. So when it comes to those spreadsheets, you don't need a data entry specialist anymore. You can actually repurpose that person into another point of your business because everything is automated. Also your approvals as well. So if you're putting in place a new commission plan, it's going to go and down the line through all the approval processes it needs to, straight from the CEO, CFO's office, all the way down to the sales managers. It's easy to follow and easy to track. You're getting back the accuracy within your system as well. So you're reducing those calculation errors from those spreadsheets, as well as reducing the amount of platforms that data is running through. That's going to reduce the amount of typos, the amount of errors that can come with that. From being an all-in-one platform, you're going to see that data from start to finish. You can condense your tracking tools, save yourself some money on some platforms. You're using one singular platform, you're gonna save on those subscription costs. It's easy to see. And then the payouts are taking place on time. So you're not waiting around 3, 4 extra weeks for that payment, maybe even months. I've been in that situation. When you're on an SAP Commissions system, you're getting that on time and you're getting that accurate payment, so you don't have to pay it back with your commissions later on. Also, you get that transparency back for your salespeople. When salespeople can see how much money they can potentially make or how much they are making, that sales morale comes back and they're back on the phones, hitting the dials, making sure that they're selling as much as they can. And we wanted to bring forward a customer success story as well. So this is one of our enterprise customers that SAP runs SAP Commission software. So as you can see, it's a fairly large company. They're running in 60 countries with over 10,000 transactions per month, and they have a pretty hefty sales staff of over 3,000 people. So their problems that they identified was through 4 of the global groups. They were running different commissions platforms. So it was hard to track. You have to jump through those different systems to see each commission's payout for each group. And their sales cycle went from months to weeks by installing that SAP Commissions platform. So not only did they reduce the platforms, they reduced their payout time and really made the experience better for all of those 3,000 plus salespeople. And I think that's it from my end. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, Jeff. Jeff's going to go ahead and go over an overview of the system now that we've talked about the business scenario. He's actually going to jump in and show you the system a little bit as well. So we're excited to do that. I'll go ahead and pass over to you, Jeff.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so in this demo, I'm going to make one word, actually it's going to be our magic word for this whole demo, is going to be called configurable. This system is highly configurable, just like many of the SAP products that are out there. So I keep in mind that we're going to cover a demo today. The demo is kind of specific to a target group we have, but we made it as general as possible. So I want you to keep in mind that the stuff you're going to see, we all have configurations that can be made to fit your business plan or your business model. So in this demo, we'll be covering dashboards and widgets. These are functional tools that provide users with an easy to read look at what's most important to them. A lot of times we could actually configure these to be the landing page. So when you log in, you're right on your dashboard, you're looking at what's most important to you as a sales rep or a sales manager, whatever business partner you have or title you have in the system. Next, we'll be going over the dispute management and workflow. You'll see how SAP Commissions allows you to handle disputes from the comfort of the Commissions application. It's one system, one-stop shop. It's got a lot of functionality. We'll cover that as well. The next one is Commissions Plan Components. Plan components are a collection of rules that you group together in business logic, and then you use these components to create commission plans. So that'll be a two-parter. We'll have the first one with the components, and the next one will actually go over making the plan and rules itself. That leads us to the next one, which is the compensation rules. This is where Commissions calculates credits and measurements and incentives and deposit amounts for your participants who you actually have assigned to that plan. And then the final thing we'll clean up on would be the Plan Communicator, which is a module of SAP Commissions, the compensation management. And as an administrator, you can create, preview, distribute, and track documents created for your initial or external employees if you have them as well. And then the final part we'll end up on is the integration capabilities. There's a lot of out-of-box integrations that are configurable to SAP Commissions, and we'll go over those and answer some questions at the end. That will be the Q&A at the very end part of this. So if you have any questions, just maintain those until the very end, and we'll cover that in the Q&A. Okay? Okay, so as I discussed in the beginning, we're talking about this company here. We took a demo scenario of a car dealership. Before we get into the demo scenario, I'd like to talk about the different types of businesses that can flourish using SAP Commissions. Business models like insurance companies, realty companies, travel agents, those are all businesses that would definitely benefit from using SAP Commissions. Any commission-based business could actually very much use the system and benefit from what they actually offer in the system. For our demo purposes, we chose what would be a typical car dealership, and this one is called Jetsons. So in Jetson's, we have 3 based sales events, which is booking, invoicing, and deal cancellation. We also have credits that are allowed to sales reps based on performance rating. Now, this is just a typical one we picked for this one. It's A and B. So you could have, if your rating's lower, obviously your credits that are allocated to you are lower. So it's performance based. We also, Jetson's have, reps have calculated incentives. So X amount of sales, if you do orders, will go to you in an incentive. And we have our payments set up monthly. You could have it bi-monthly, semi-monthly. It's completely configurable, there's a keyword, to your business needs. Okay, so this is the dashboards and widgets we're just talking about. So dashboards, they give you a quick glance, like I said in the beginning, to what's most important to you. So I'm a sales rep, I log in, I want to see the most pertinent information to me that's going to help me perform at my title, my position the best. You could have multiple dashboards based on your components and on your title. So if I'm a sales rep, or maybe I'm a department head for a certain section, I could have those different dashboards assigned to me. And we're going to see this in the system as well. Dashboards can be designed based on the plan's reps, the rep being compensated for, whatever you're being compensated for. You could actually have a widget on the dashboard that says, hey, this is what you're being compensated for this month. Here's what your bonus is this month. So it's very configurable, and it fits any business need you could possibly have. So I went ahead and I actually logged in as our sales rep here, Ava Powers. So this is the landing page. This is where we actually come. This is what we consider to be the dashboard of the system. Now, up here, as I was talking about before, you actually have a drop down. So if Ava, for instance, had maybe she had 3 different titles in our system. She had 3 different jobs. She could actually have a dashboard per title in the system. Currently, she's only a sales representative, so this is what she's seeing right here. This period functionality here allows you to see what your dashboard, it updates the dashboard based on that period selected. For us right now, she's running through this June 1. She's going fully throughout the month, so this is what's pertinent to her during this pay period. And as I mentioned before in the beginning, this is a monthly pay period, so we have it kind of broken down to fit that customization. So the first widget I'm going to bring us to is the sales representative information widget. In this widget, you're going to see her name, her salary, more importantly, in our system, her rating, right? She's looking to see where she stands among her peers. We also have her manager, which is Tim McGuire here. We can see her guaranteed amount and the guaranteed start date. So this is perfect information for her. And we'll jump over now to the earnings widget. The earning widget, it actually displays what she's earned this pay period. It's been a slow month for Ava. She's got $780 in her payment so far. And what this does, it allows to see if she has any outstanding, and you can tell, it gives you a little hint when you hover over it. It's prior and current payment unused balance. So if I was Ava, and let's say I know I have an outstanding balance, I'm actually missing money, this easy to read widget will actually display that here for me. So it's front and center, bold letters, catches your eyes right when you log in. The next one I want to talk about is the earning details. Now this widget is based on, you can consider this almost as a report. It shows back in January where your levels are at and where it kind of gives you a trajectory of where you're heading to. This is great for our sales rep purpose of Ava. She could see where she's dipped. She dipped here in February a little bit in March. She had come back in April. And so far, she's been hitting, maybe that COVID curve where there's not much going on for her in regards to sales. So if I hover over here, it actually pops up a hidden table, and it actually tells you in a nice to read format her earnings, guaranteed, and her bonus, which are the 3 things we're capturing inside of this report. So it's very interactive. If I slide over here, you can see where it tells you I had no bonuses in February. So this is very interactive. This can be configurable to whatever you need it to show, but for our case here, I could see that she is slowly on the uptick in her bonuses, which is great news. If I hop over now to bonuses, as we were discussing earlier, this is actually showing 2 things actually. It shows her target, it shows how much she's achieved, and it shows what her current bonus is. So if Ava said, hey, you know what, I had an incentive to sell X amount of vehicles, I did that, but my bonus is not reflecting, she has it right here front and center to show her what exactly she's getting calculated bonuses for. The next widget is the leaderboard. Now, this is a playful interaction that SAP Commissions has put in here. It's competitive in nature, right? So I'm Ava Brown, Ava Powers. I could see that I'm below James William, and I want to catch up to him. And there's the natural competitive nature of being a sales rep. I'm trying to pass and be the #1 person on the board here. So it's a little playful interaction, gives you an idea of where you rank among the peers in the leaderboard. Once again, configurable. You don't have to have it in the system. It's just something that we use to push our sales reps, the extra mile. Next, I'm going to jump over to the deal search. Now, the deal search allows you to look at orders and details of what you've actually completed in the during this period. So if I type in, for my purposes here, I'm going to type in order. It's going to pull up information based on the orders I've completed. So I can see I have 3 orders here. It even tells me my allocated credit. And this can be configurable to show you, maybe you have a rolled up credit. Maybe you're a manager and you get a rolled up credit value based on your sales reps. This could be displayed in this chart as well. We've kept it simplistic and have it to where you have an allocated credit here. And I can see that I've made quite a bit of money here, and I dipped down a little bit on this value, maybe to push some unit off the lot. So this is a little neat widget, gives you good information based on your order details. The next one is the commissions widget, just showing that I'm up 56% from where I was at in the previous cycle. So this is a neat tool. It actually gives you a baseline for where you're at. Maybe, I'm seeing it's the 24th. I need to start picking up a little bit if I don't want to hit my target trajectory. This last widget here is a big function of SAP Commissions. This is the raise inquiry option here. Now, and I'll discuss this in an upcoming slide about how we interact with disputes. But let's say I log in as Ava. Ava logs in one day and looks at her dashboard and goes, wait, I'm missing a big chunk of money here. I'm missing some earnings. What would have to happen back in old systems, where you have to actually email out to your superior saying, hey, I'm missing, a large, substantial amount of money. And there's a big email chain going back and forth. Maybe he has to reach out to his manager. What SAP Commissions does is it allows you to actually raise this inquiry inside the system, which provides you with a benefit of actually having this all contained in a one-stop shop for both the disputee and her subordinate or his subordinate to actually see this information. So I clicked on this and I say, all right, I have a compensation inquiry. I'm missing some money here. I'm gonna go ahead and put in that I'm missing, we'll keep it $650. I'm missing $650 in the system, and I'll say the period was, March. I'll say it was for March. I'll put my name in here. And if I wanted to, the neat functionality here is I could actually choose to upload a file. So let's say I have a pay stub, and the pay stub is saying, hey, Jeff, we sent you out X amount of money, but you're missing it. I can actually click and choose a local file and pull that up. So now when this actually goes off to our dispute tracking and our dispute management portal, it actually is going to filter through here, and my manager is actually going to get that information right to him. So you can click on that and see what's going on. I'll go ahead and submit, I'll create this because we're going to go over this when we get to the manager part now. Okay, so now in my disputes, I could see that Tim, my manager, is received my $650 request amount, and it's pending right now, his approval. Okay, so that covers what we see on the sales rep. So let's go ahead and jump into Tim now. Tim's got some questions about that $650 he failed to pay out. So let's see what we got. Log in as Tim. Okay. Now you see Tim's dashboard is a little different here. He still has the 2 top parts here, where if he was multiple positions, he could select the period select is here. But Tim is a manager, so Tim's going to have details based on Justin's manager dashboard. So we have manager details here, get his name, first and last, but his position. He's our mid-sedan sales lead. He's also got a salary of $8,000. So you go over here now, after this tab, you can see that his manager is actually Chester. And we're going to jump over to the subordinate dashboard. Now, this is a neat little widget here, because what this does is it allows him to view what's on his subordinate's dashboards. So, for instance, if Ava was having some issues with her dashboard, maybe she can't figure out, she's missing a widget, or she just isn't seeing some information, I could actually, so Ava got to me and said, Jeff, I'm missing $650. If I click on this, I could actually pull up and see, okay, well, she's right. I could see that she's only getting paid $780, so we're missing some cash here. So this allows you to actually kind of drive into that subordinate's dashboard and get an idea of what they're seeing. It's also intuitive. If you're a manager, you could actually see what they perceive to be their most important information for them. So it's another tool to use for that as well. Maybe I see on here that she's tracking bonuses, maybe James is not. And I could see she's more incentivized to get a bonus than James would be. I'll back out here. I'm going to jump over now to the reps ratings. Now, rep ratings, this widget here we display just based on my team. So this team actually has 2 people. It's got James like we were talking about, and Ava. I can see where they're falling. I see right now James is trailing behind Ava by a substantial amount. And this allows me, if I set forecasts for them, maybe I want both of them to hit the $2,000 mark, right? I could actually set a forecast and say, okay, right now I see both of them slacking behind and we're on the 24th here this month. So this gives you a little inside look at where your reps currently are sitting at in regards to value. At Jetsons, we created a roll-up credits rule. So basically what this does is Tim gets an incentive every time his sales reps make a sale. So right now, based on the calculations and formulas we've used, he's only gotten $8, not a lot of money. But this credit could be based on anything we want it to be. We can make it as granular or as complex as we want. We went really simplistic with our demo here. So he's getting $8, so you could see what he's actually earned from his sales reps, maybe incentivizing him to do more training, maybe more time spent with them to get them out there selling more. And just like Ava, Tim himself has a raise dispute option here. This applies to him. So if he wanted to, he could click in there and jump into the dispute section. So we'll jump in there right now, and maybe I have some issues in my package, do the same thing. However, what's unique about Tim's dashboard is he also gets his subordinates ones as well. So you can see this is the one I just put in here roughly about 5 minutes ago. I put in the $650 amount that I was missing from Ava. So what you can do in the system is actually click on this. You're going to see these 2 buttons over here on gray out, and now I have the ability to approve or deny right in the system. So let's say I verified Ava was right. Now I'm going to click approve, and I can even put in here comments, saying whatever I want. But I'll hit approve now, and now it goes to the administrator. That's how we have Jetson set up. As soon as your direct supervisor says yes, this is good, it goes right to our admin for review. So that's a little setup there on this one as well. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump back to our demo deck here. So we covered this one, right? The dispute management. We saw how users can raise disputes in cases where there's some irregularities in their compensation. We also see, and then what we could set up as well is email notifications. This is big, right? So if you're a sales manager, Jetsons loves using sales managers for getting email notifications. So what happens is Tim all of a sudden gets a pop-up on his Outlook, and it says, hey, you know what? You have a dispute in here, and you go check it out. You could actually click on a link in there, and it drives him right to that dispute page. We also could have the actions to, like we discussed, to have the actions to deny or approve these disputes. That's all handled within the SAP Commission system. Okay, so that brings us to our plan components section here. Okay, so we're going to jump over to 2 things here. One, I'll cover the plan. So plans determine how a compensation for a sales representative is calculated. So at Jetsons, we have our own credits, like we saw Tim had the rolled up credit, right? You also have measurements, incentives, and deposits. These are 4 standard components to plans. Rules are, plans comprised of rules which help calculating credits, measurements, bonuses. So we saw, for instance, that Ava had $180 based on her sales. We have a calculated rule in there, a credit rule, and we also have a measurement rule. So if she hits one piece of these rules, it actually credits her. So that's what there's those different types that we'll actually have in there. We'll go over the rules in the next slide. But what I want to jump in now is I'm going to cover what actually makes up a plan. So a plan is, like I said, is compromised from a thing called compensation elements. Those elements are used to build rules in turn that calculate the compensation. The compensation elements are reusable, and the values can be modified by the administrators and can be reused to build even new rules or plans themselves. So I'm going to hop in now to our admin section. So this is the admin here. And of course, I have more functionalities on my page because I am an admin on here. So I'm going to hop over to our plans. Okay, so we have a manager plan here. I'll go and click on this. So now in this system, it pulls up basically what this plan is. It actually gives you a version. This is important. So when you can see maybe we had a version, this one is actually for 2006. We're probably due at Jetsons for an update. But if I wanted to, I could actually see different versioning of this, which is great tool because we could actually see is where we've actually updated. So maybe we've updated last year to a certain, maybe last year we had a component that said, okay, well, for every manager that has a sales rep that sells 20,000 units, we're going to go ahead and throw 5% his way. Maybe that didn't work out. Maybe the managers got back to us and said, you know what, that is not a good plan. We don't like that. We could actually see in the versioning where we've actually made these updates. Maybe we updated a credit and it was actually bad. We actually did a reverse what we wanted. We decentivized maybe a part of our business. We can roll back to that previous version. That's what this tool up here is used for, and it's a really, really great tool to have. So in here, we can see different things we have. We can do rules by type or by component. We'll keep type on for now. We can see that based on this manager plan, we have that rolled transaction credit. This is the one that Tim saw in his dash. And if you click on this, it actually gives you a synopsis of what's going on and how it's credited. Now, as I said in the beginning, these credits could be as complex as you want them to be, or they could be as great, they could be as simplistic as possible. So it actually gives you the flexibility and commissions to go either way. So on this one, we gave a little rule description. It's credit based on a rolled transaction, pretty boilerplate. If we scroll down here, we can actually see the amount. It's the source credit value times the 1%. So that's kind of how we're calculating out Tim's pay here. That's why it's kind of low. It's 1% of what they're actually pulling in. Down here, you can actually see the inputs to this rule. You can see the outputs of this rule. You can see the associations. That's where the section is being held at. This is the plan. It's the manager's plan. And then down here, you could actually see the measurements. So we have a primary, there's two types of measurements. We'll cover that in the next slide. But just to give you a little update of what we're doing here, the measurements we have set for Tim is basically just on his rolled credit one, but you could have measurements for a list of other options as well. And we'll cover that in the next slide. Incentives, we got the aggravated incentive rule here. So aggregated incentive, we actually roll this into. If you scroll down, you could actually see the different amounts and how we applied these. Such things as attainment rates, stuff like that can all be calculated. We're using a custom formula in here, and I'll go over the formulas in a second. And then down here, of course, you have deposit, which is a pretty straightforward function here. It can, again, be configured to be really granular, or it could be very simplistic. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on the compensation elements. This is where we need to talk about a couple of values we have in here. So the compensation elements, we actually could figured in this system. We have these options here along the side here. So I'll cover the first one. The first one is a fixed value. So fixed values are used to store single values which can be reused. Simplistic, so the word itself, fixed value, applies that. These could be period dependent. So we know how we saw the periods. It could be maybe based on this time period, maybe from February, since we're a car dealership, we have a dip. We could have a fixed value that will say, okay, if you sell X amount in February, we're going to go ahead and give you a little percentage of that as well. We could have formula-based. We saw that with one of our measurements is actually a formula-based element. So formulas are, just mathematical expressions that can be used across rules. Compensation elements like rate tables, which are down here, or lookup tables as well. They're reusable and they provide flexibility to admins like myself to create complex components for formulas to use in the compensation plans. I know it sounds like a mouthful, but basically what it's stating is that we get as an admin, I could create a complex formula used in these systems to actually calculate out what our bonuses is. Maybe you want to take, for instance, of Jetsons, maybe we have a deal on Tahoes. So Chevy's going to give us a percentage. So I'm going to take that Chevy percent up for moving these Tahoes, and I'm going to calculate that with how much we've moved off the lot based on that rep. I could take that whole complicated formula and perform that in the system itself. The next piece is the lookup tables. So lookup tables are just multi-dimensional tables, and I'll actually click on this one. and we'll pull up a lookup table here ourselves. So you can see here what this is a multi-dimensional table that can be used to store numeric values. You can also store formulas, or compensation rules as well. So we can see here, if I click on a value, it actually gives you a readout of how we're calculating this. If there's any programmers in the audience, you could actually see here they're using an FL statement here. This is basically how we're calculating what we're invoicing for. So this is a neat little tool. It's very intuitive to users. You just type in here basically what you want calculated out, and then it's applied to this lookup table. So you also have the three ones we were using in the beginning as stated was the invoicing, booking, and cancellation. These are where we're calculating these right here. Okay. Next will bring us to the quotas. Okay. So Commissions allows for setting up quotas for sales teams. So at Jetsons we have one. The quotas can be applied across the entire reporting structure, or it could be down to the team itself. So for us at Jetsons, I can make one saying, okay, this month I want to have X amount, which would also be a measurement. I want to have X amount of luxury sedans off the lot this month. And you could set that quota in the system, and you could send that out to your subordinates for actual, so they could get transparency on what they need to be pushing out. Okay. Next is rate tables. Rate tables are used to calculate stepped commissions. The compensation is calculated at different thresholds. So attainment is one of those. So if I click on the rate tables here, I'm not sure if we actually pulled any in. We have two in here. So we have the rolled up one we were just talking about earlier. We also what we set up for our demo scenario here. And basically, I'll actually click on the rolled one because this one's actually pretty simplistic. But what it means is if we're selling one unit, we're actually not passing on anything. So if you actually hit past the threshold, we're going to give you 100% of the rate we calculated, which unfortunately for Tim's position we saw was only 1%. So that's what Tim will be getting based upon his rolled transaction credits. The next piece would be territories. So territories, there's a set of categories. You could use them for, it's not the name itself suggests that it's territory, but it's not limited to geographical location. It could be used to categorize products as well by postal codes. So what we typically, so at Jetsons, we have multiple dealerships. So we might have a dealership in Maine and a dealership in California. And based on those territories, we might want to incentivize, maybe in California, we want to incentivize more sales of sedans, maybe more Priuses, right, to set out there. Maybe we want to incentivize that tool. So in Maine, we can also incentivize, maybe you want to drive trucks more. There's different incentivizes you could actually make based on the territories. And that brings us to our final one, which is variables. Variables are just placeholders for compensation rules for fixed rates, fixed values. The variables you could make is, we have one here actually for territory, actually applies to one above this. So we could actually click on associations to actually tell you what it's been used for. So we have it in a roll transaction that was running through this end of this year. Actually, it's running infinity. That's actually how we drive out that number. And we have a couple other transaction rules that we've applied to this as well. Okay, I'm going to go and jump back to our stack here. Okay, so as discussed earlier, we'll be talking about the credit rules. So with the credit rules here, we have established, so credits in SAP Commissions, the term credit indicates the allocation of values of sales transactions or an entire order. So what we can see here is we have the actually direct transaction credit. So a direct transaction credit generates you a credit based on a single transaction. Same thing with the roll transaction, right? We saw this with Tim. He has a roll transaction rule applied to his roll. And then we also have down here the order. So what differentiates between the two is a direct order encompasses basically if I'm a company, let's say I'm a manufacturing company and I sold 25 units of steel to a company along with 25 units of rubber. I can make that an order-based credit. Whereas if we had this in this situation for Jetsons, it would be a transaction. So per transaction, so that'd be 20 of those if I had a transaction per one of those. That's the differentiations between the two of those pieces. Okay, I'll go ahead now and jump to the next slide here. And this is the measurement rules. This is what we were talking about earlier in regards to measurements. So measurements are generated by rules, and they're based on credits or other calculations. We have two types of measurements. We have a primary and a secondary. A measurement rule calculates the aggregated credits of a primary measurement, and the measurement rule that calculates the aggregate amounts of that measurement to the secondary measurement. So what that means is I could have a primary measurement rule for Jetson saying, this month I want to move off 18 trucks. I want all Ford F-150s gone by this month. If I hit that threshold of that measurement rule, we could then kick in an incentivized rule that will actually send out a bonus or an allocation of compensation to that sales rep. Secondary measurements could be, I want to sell 20 mid-sized SUVs. The secondary one would be, if 10 of those 20 come from a Ford Edge, I want to throw some more money at you. That's how these primary and secondary measurement rules can interact. Of course, this is all configurable. It could be based on your different models. For us at Jetsons, that's what we modeled this to. Next is the incentive rules. Incentive rules is comparing measurement or credits or to targets. So an incentive output is an incentive rule which calculates commissions or bonuses for position. So this, for instance, we talked about with how we have it set up for AVA. So the incentivized rule we have for AVA is based on X amount of sales you have, you're going to get this bonus. Now, as we discussed, there's a per credit and there's an aggregated one. So aggregated one would be, okay, you sold 20 vehicles, here's your bonus. We could make it generous and go per credit, right? So per credit would be, okay, you sold 15 vehicles at X amount of dollars, we're going to give you per credit, per transaction, this amount for those cars. And then we'll have the final one here is the deposit rules. Deposit rules are deposits are generated by the deposit rules. They could also be imported, and they could be manually entered. So they give you the benefit of the SAP Commissions system to actually import those ones into the system. The deposit rules determine how much kind of incentive commission a position assignment is earned. So we saw with Ava, she's actually earned, $780 based on her salary and based on her commission piece alone. Okay, and if I jump back here to the system, we can actually hop right in to these rules themselves. So now if you click on these rules, this gives you a list of rules that we have in the system. So as discussed earlier, we have our ruled one. We've all seen it. I've kind of covered that one pretty thick. We also have the deposit rule here. And again, if you click on this, it drops you down a neat little read page here. You also have a quick skip. So if I want to jump to Boolean values, it'll actually slide you down to that. We have none in the system, so it's not going to pop up. But basically what this does is we have our components that we're using, and we have our associations. This is what we saw in the earlier slide when we were inside the plan itself. But each one of these you click on will actually give you an idea of what is being used in here. For purpose of the demo, I'll actually click on this plus sign to actually create one. And if I roll in here, you can see how SAP Commissions is kind of giving you a nice little creation wizard, I like to call it, right? So this basically step-by-step helps you outline what is needed to make this a rule. So up here we have obviously our 4 individuals we talk about in regards to rules. And then down here you can populate a name, a business unit. We used US for ours, so that's where our sales are located out of. But down here, you actually can populate the condition for these. So what type of events are you going to have? What kind of transactions you're going to have? They also don't have to be Boolean. They could be strings. For those that are not familiar with the terms, Booleans would be like a true or false. Strings would be obviously you could type in exactly what you would like it to happen. Over here kind of gives you a little synopsis of what we actually allow in the system as well. And then based on this, you could actually go line by line based on what you want these to be. And then down here at the outputs, it'll actually tell you, here's your transaction value, and I can put in here what I want. Obviously, reportable is the definite selection you're going to want to make for some of these reports. because you're going to want to have a reportable field based on booking, which we do in our system as well. That's what you saw in Ava's charts. Those are all reportable pieces on her chart that was showing where she was at a couple months ago. Okay. Back out of that. I'm going to jump over to Plan Communicator, anticipation for what we're about to discuss next. So this brings us to Plan Communicator. So Plan Communicator, this in the system is a module of SAP Commissions. It's a workflow which runs based on two types of functions. Now, the functions we've highlighted in our demo are the document creation distributions and dispute tracking. So the two ones we're going to cover inside of the Plan Communicator. Plan Communicator also supports uploading documents from your local drive, and you can preview the document. You could also attach a plan to it as well. It also supports, so I'm going to hop in right now. We could actually show you in the system live what we can do from here. So if I go down to documents, I know I have a document outstanding from March. So I'm going to click on this default period. And this right here, you're going to see right now, this is displaying what the default period was. So our default period was actually way back. So it's showing this, what we had in the system back then. If I actually click on this, I'm going to type in March, because March we had a nice plan pushed out. Okay on this. Okay, so here's our 2020 plan. So if I click on this plan here, what you're going to see is I could put a description here if we want for our Jetsons people, but what this does is it's a built-in tool that actually data mines information for you when it sends out this document. This is a very useful and very sought-after functionality, and a lot of systems they don't actually have this. So basically, when I click on this plan, it's going to data mine the participant's first name and put it in there. So when this goes out to, let's say, Ava, it's going to say, hi, Ava. It's actually going to data mine her participant name and pop it right in here, as well as it's going to, like a boilerplate type of document, it's actually going to fill in these other pieces as well. So for us at Jetsons, I'm going to see the performance rating. I'm going to see what their calculated incentives are for those performance ratings, and it's going to populate these fields for them. So this is a neat tool. It saves down on a lot of miscommunication. So if I was sending out a document without this type of functionality, I'd have to make it individualized, or I'd even have to probably change some of my incentive rules to be a company whole instead of a direct singular approach. I'd have to make it cover everybody. So this functionality, not only does it push you towards, smart business decisions, it also allows you to take some of that stress off of you when you're actually building out these documents. So this piece alone is a big functionality, a big selling point we've seen in commissions, is just have this alone, because it saves so much miscommunication going out, and it saves so much time in building these documents. So as we discussed, you could upload all these documents. When creating a plan, you could actually assign it to a particular compensation plan. So you can see up here, I'm actually tying this back to my 2020 plan. But as well as you could save it here, you could preview it. So I want to see what it's going to look like when it's on the outs, that as well. And the next piece was disputes tracking, right? So if you click on disputes tracking, this pulls up the tracking in the workplace across the entire workplace. This is pulling up everything in our system. Once again, I'll have to mention I'm an admin, so I have complete access to what we have going on here. You can filter disputes by request type, the reason, request, status, position, participant. Again, configurable. It brings home at this page as well. You could use the reset button to obviously, to clear out anything you don't want or see on there. But a big piece of this one too as well is, and this is a big functionality across SAP products, is you could actually export this to a CSV file. So that's a big seller if you're a company that maybe has Microsoft in there. You could actually pull this out to Excel and actually see what's going on in a CSV file. That way it's going to be a little easier to read. If you're a bigger company, you might end up with 20-something pages, right? So you could actually pull that out as well if you want to bring it to a meeting. So for instance, I could see here they even put this one in today. And if you click on documents, which we're not going to have any attached, but if she had attached maybe a work stub I could actually, or payment stub, I could actually see it in here. Maybe a bank statement, stuff like that. So this is a big piece here, and I can see it's also assigned to the administrator. So if you get on the administrator, that would be me. Call myself and yell at myself to get moving on this. That's all part of the system as well. Okay, I'm going to jump now to the next slide here. Okay, it brings us to the integration capabilities. So as I mentioned in the beginning, SAP Commissions allows for quite a few out-of-box capabilities. I'll cover these 5 here. So we have the SAP Success Factors. This is using CPI. So you need CPI to actually integrate with this one. This is going to be the same thing for S/4HANA as well. But you need CPI, the Cloud Platform Integration. And what it does is it commissions data loader, the DL, actually replicates the Success Factors Employee Central details. So this is big. So if the Employee Central details will actually save you a lot of time. You could actually use Success Factors to pull over your employee information such as participants, positions, and titles right into your commission system. So that's a big benefit to having this integration with Success Factors. The next one is the SAP S/4HANA. So S/4HANA is a big package. It uses API-based integration mapping to send commissions data to S4, and this is to generate pay files. So in this integration, it will integrate with S4 settlement management. There's other elements that it could also be tied to. This is just one I'm highlighting out in this document. If I had to put all the capabilities for S/4HANA, it would be, we have 2 pages worth. So SAP Commissions calculates the commissions and passes that data to settlement management. And then, of course, settlement management then uses the data to create a pay file for the commissions payments. So it's a good way of getting your information into your backend from based on what commissions you've had created. This is big also for payments. So if you want to maintain your list of payment history, S/4HANA obviously has a container for that as well. The next piece here is the C4C Salesforce. So this is the CRM systems. So SAP Commissions could seamlessly be integrated with CRM systems. And from there, you can load transactional data, all compensation-based. You load that right to a customer record. Gives you a nice little synopsis of what you got going on in regards to compensation, to maybe you have different employees that are listed as the account team for those customers. All listed there, all transparent with the sales reps themselves. Next is SAP IDP. This is also a component as well for SAP Cloud Platform Integration. You have to double check, but IDP is actually a tool inside that as well. And this, of course, allows you to have single sign-on. It's a big functionality. I know a lot of our clients like using the IDP for single sign-on. It's a quick enablement and gets you signed right into commissions, and you could be surfing doing 2 things at once. And then, of course, you have SAP CPQ. So SAP CPQ integration with commissions is a big upsell for a lot of people because it allows your sales reps to select products inside of the CPQ environment and see what they stand to make on that. So it's actually a pretty big integration. So if I'm a sales rep and I go into CPQ and I'm going to go ahead and quote out somebody, I can see based on my commissions integration what I'm going to make from that. So it might change. Maybe I could see I could actually lower down some costs, but still make it a top end for myself. So I know a lot of sales reps love that integration of CPQ because it does give them the functionality in their hands to say, okay, I'm going to type this in and see what I'm going to get from it. And everybody would like to know what that is before they obviously get paid. So this is a big feature integration. Okay, that is it for me. I'm going to hand this over now for the Q&A section.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So we did have a couple of questions that popped up in our Q&A area. It looks like Sanjeev did a good job of answering those on the fly. Just to give everybody an idea of what those questions were, we did have a question if we'd worked with any insurance customers in the commission space. And that answer was yes, we actually have worked with AIG Insurance. So if there are any of the attendees that are wondering what industries we've worked in, go ahead and send us an email. We can go ahead and answer those questions or give you some examples. Jeff, do you mind pulling up that email address that we have on the
Sure thing.
PowerPoint? Thanks.
Yes.
We also had a question as well, if you needed a separate license for SAP Commissions. You do. SAP Commissions is going to be its own solution that we license out. SAP Commissions, we can work with a couple of different systems. It is easily integrated into other operating systems. But of course, as Jeff went through, it does integrate very, very well with the other options within the CX suite of solutions offered by SAP. One of the most famous being that CPQ that we just spoke about. So also, we had a question if SAP, if we can resell those licenses globally. SAP licenses can be used globally, as we saw with our customer story earlier, in over 40 different 60 different countries. You can use it. Currently, we're operating just in North America for ASAR America. But, if there are any opportunities to expand farther, we'd be willing to discuss that as well. So if there are any other questions, on the screen you can see c4hana@asaramerica.com. Go ahead and send us some emails. Also, if there are any questions that you have or any opportunities that you want to discuss with maybe some current customers, or if you are a prospect looking to get some more information on the system itself, or maybe some of those other solutions that Jeff touched base on, go ahead and reach out to that email address and we will make sure that we get in contact with you. And additionally, I did want to mention this session was recorded. So we are going to go ahead and send this out once we get everything taken care of. So that way you can re-review some of those functions that we covered today. And I really thank everybody for their time. Thanks, Jeff, for actually running through the system with us. And I hope everybody has a really good day.